Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines here. It may be a crypto collapse, but we got XRP confirmation. We're going to look at it today. 675 million XRP. Binance US is in the news. We got Patrick McHenry, Bill Huizenga. We got Brad Garlinghouse talking about the SEC tactics today. You're going to want to know it. We got John Deaton, Jeremy Hogan, Bank of Canada, the Chinese Yuan versus the USD. Oh, things are getting interesting. And we got that. And guess what else we got? Fox Business talking about the petrodollar slipping away, ladies and gentlemen. We got that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter for exclusive content. $846 billion market cap for crypto. We're up by 1.2%. Bitcoin, 16,800 plus. Ethereum, 1,200 plus. Tether market cap, 66.2 billion now. It's actually come up about 100 million. We're looking at XRP at 34 cents, and we are off by 10.5% on the 7-day. How you like them apples? Well, I tell you what, I'm still bullish. I'm a perma bull, and I'm going to tell you what, I'm a perma bull on Glint because, you know, I was a customer first and then they became a sponsor, and I love them and I love what they're doing. And I tell you, it's about time for me to top off that gold card I got there. Yeah, that's a MasterCard debit card you can use to spend your physically allocated gold. You are not buying paper gold. And yes, you can receive it if you choose to. So make sure you know about it. But I love having it and having access to it. I have used it out in public when I needed to. And I tell you, just to make sure that that works for me, and I absolutely love it. And once you get it, I think you're going to understand the way I do. Once you have it, that reliability of God's money in your hand like that, it is just a powerful, powerful feeling. Check out the link underneath the video. Right here, we see the first start of the news today is key Ripple partner Bitso has helped move 675 million XRP as it faced a big XRP inflow as well. I'm just going to give you a piece of this. The transfer carried the 62.3 million XRP worth 21 plus million was conducted by a key Ripple partner for spreading the on-demand liquidity technology. How about that? Bitso crypto exchange. See, I've always said I can't really prove it, but I feel like if they were to shut down all of the exchanges today, XRP still has a very real price because it's being used in a very real use case. Now, what is the price of XRP without retail speculation? I have no idea. Is it 10 cents? Is it 5 cents? All I know is it's not 0 cents because there are companies using it around the world. They have $15 billion so far moving through the ODL network. So keep that in mind. Binance agrees to buy Voyager's assets. We see Patrick McHenry say here that they has to reintroduce legislation to require financial regulators to have innovation offices. Obviously, we need clarity when it comes to digital assets. This is Bill Huizenga sitting down with Tony from Thinking Crypto. Shout out to Tony and shout out to Bill. I normally like what Bill has to say, but I was a little, and you know how I am. I think Thomas Jefferson, I could be wrong who said it, but I think it was Thomas Jefferson, there will be those who hold the government in contempt. I'm one of those people. You're not going to sway me to go right or left. I'm independent. I have conservative views. I have liberal views. I have all those things, right? You know, socially liberal and financially conservative. That's really how you could split me down the middle there. So, but I'm independent. I don't claim either side. But you know what? Sometimes somebody will say something I like. Sometimes they won't. I wasn't fond of this remark.
So there was a lot of work that had been done on it. There was some, I think, opportunity and optimism that we might be able to at least start down that path of clarity. Mm-hmm. And then, frankly, FTX happened. And, the beginning of November, when that all fell apart, it just sucked all the oxygen out of the room.
And what he's talking about is the oxygen out of the room for stablecoin legislation. But the problem is, Bill, with a monsoon of respect, and I know I call you out, I'll call Patrick McHenry out, Maxine Waters, Elizabeth Warren, and I get the freedom to do so, right? Because I'm not where you are. Probably never will be, and that's fine. But the problem is when the oxygen gets sucked out of the room, you're the guy who's supposed to not run out of oxygen, and so is everyone else, Maxine Waters and everyone else, not just you, right? It is, in fact, your job when oxygen runs out of the room to do what needs to be done to put the oxygen back in the room to make sure that citizens and retail investors are, in fact, protected, right? That's your job. I mean, it's essentially, thank God you're not a fireman, right? Because if the house is on fire, where would you run in? Would you run out? What's happening, right? You know, all I'm saying is these little phrases and stuff just, you know, they make you a bit nauseous. You know what I mean? You're actually there to do something. You're not there to tell us about how it was a near miss, right? Get it done. It's a bipartisan effort. It's for the good of all the people, right? Brad Garlinghouse says here for months, Wall Street, first of all, he retweets the Wall Street Journal here. For months, Gary Gensler claimed to have authority over crypto and warned about self-dealing at their exchanges. Why didn't he investigate FTX? This was asked by Wall Street Journal reporter here, Alyssa Finley. Well, it's the right question to ask, but I got the answer. I believe I do, because it's right here. Well, apparently it gets hard to see fraud when you're Sam Bankman-Fried and Gary Gensler, and you know that Sam Bankman-Fried is the second largest Democrat donor to the party. As a measure of trying to salvage some level of professionalism, and I really can't use integrity because we're talking about the FCC after all, Gary Gensler at the very least should resign based on those facts alone. Brad Garlinghouse says this is 100% about the Wall Street Journal opinion. It's ridiculous and frankly shameful that Chair Gensler was touting the SEC's enforcement actions as the cop on the beat, yet, per public reports, met with Sam Bankman-Fried multiple times, but was caught completely flat-footed when the alleged fraud finally came to light. I'm telling you, what a mess. I mean, a real mess. But you know what? I think it's by design. But I tell you what, here's a guy that they didn't see this guy coming. It's John Deaton. Let me tell you what, now he's in the library case, ladies and gentlemen. I tell you what, this guy, I think we're all very grateful for John. There's no question about it. This is John and Jeremy Hogan here, and is basically talking about, and shout out to Jim Filan for sharing this information that the SEC versus Ripple and the XRP, and it says library in the case. The SEC has filed its opposition to the library's motion to limit the SEC's remedies in the resolution of the library case. But now we know John Deaton's obviously joined in. He says, I haven't read it yet. However, I did notice the first page described Library Coin as a crypto asset security. Well, that's a problem right there. Library Coin is a digital asset like any asset or commodity. It can be packaged and sold in an unregistered securities offering. How about that? I like the way he says that right there. Jeremy Hogan shares this to go along with it. He says, the SEC is amazing. It asks for an injunction against Library for future sales, and on the next page argues that the court can't rule on future sales because they are too speculative. I think the judge is realizing about now that this was never about protecting anyone. Ooh, that's a goodie. Bank of Canada emphasizes a need for stablecoin regulation and legislation even as it gets tabled. I read the article, and it's a lot of the hem and haw. It was introduced, but the second time they had to read down of the bill, it didn't go through. We'll keep you up to date on what happens. But while that is going on, that looks very reminiscent to the United States lack of effort in legislation there. I think we're going to find out some things before we get out of here that really, I happen to believe, is almost a front. You know, that there is a lot happening behind the scenes, back channels that we are not privy to. And we'll talk about that in a second. More Chinese cities will be added to the nation's digital Yuan project. They are running away with it over there. City of Jinyan, and it says Shandong province will be added to the pilot area. it just keeps getting bigger over there. They keep doing it. And digital yuan's performance in trade settlement is where the US dollar faces real competition. Okay, now we're getting into it. And I don't mind telling you, WARS is how things happen in this area if it doesn't go well, right? We've always said on this channel that XRP was not designed for a day when it was 65 and sunny or 75 and sunny for the economy. XRP was designed as a solution to a paradigm shift, the greatest financial paradigm shift in the history of mankind, in fact. A financial, monetary paradigm shift. I believe for the first time that because of this and other things we're going to see, will absolutely bring us to a place where we're going to see the introduction of a bridge asset like XRP and maybe some others to complement the government dollars of the world, the fiat dollars of the world. U.S. remains a tech leader not because we force innovators to adopt our values, but because we allow tech that holds these values at our core to flourish. What happens in the U.S. issue of CBDC that doesn't reflect American values? Now, listen, this is where the U.S. can still win, right? Because the reality is the question is what are the consequences if we develop a CBDC and get it wrong? Well, they're damning, just like over in China with the Yuan. They can cut the money off on you. They can tell you can't leave so many miles from your house or your money won't work. You've had too many pizzas. You've had too many cheeseburgers. You've had too many beers. Whatever it is, right? That is not the kind of world I want to live in. And that's why I believe it's so important. I talk about all the time the difference between a two-tier system and a direct dollar directly to the Fed. I think that's a problem, right? I think it needs to be a two-tiered system as we have now with wholesale and retail side. And I think the retail side absolutely needs to be 3 degrees of separation, as they say, away from direct contact to the Fed. No one should be able to cut your digital money off. When you hold money, and I believe this for the citizens of the world, not just in the U.S., but obviously we're talking about the U.S. and the digital dollar that is not here yet. I believe that the best way for the United States to remain relevant, knowing that we are looking at this. Let's take a look at this very quickly here, because this is a big deal. We know that Bretton Woods 2 ended on December 9th when they announced it. Now Fox Business is acknowledging exactly what we talked about over a week ago. Now, this is very important, right? Because this, ladies and gentlemen, after the gold standard was pulled away from the U.S. dollar, we had the petrodollar agreement from Kissinger with the Middle East. And now for the first time, China and Saudi Arabia, who honor the petrodollar, are going to now use the Chinese yuan through the Shanghai exchange to buy and sell oil. That's brand new. You don't have to believe it, but it's still true. Things are changing. That gradual slippage of that kind of agreement for the petrodollar is going to become cascading over the months and years, I believe. Now, where will the strength of the U.S. dollar come from? Well, coming back to the AB article here, American Banker, I believe the strength comes from making sure that that digital dollar is just as respective to the privacy of any human being that holds it as the paper one you have in your pocket now. And wouldn't that bring about the most confidence and demand for the use of that dollar if you can maintain the integrity that the paper dollar currently provides, right? Well, you know, when we think about those things, I'm reminded of this right here. Digital Dollar Project launches central bank digital currency sandbox with digital asset and Ripple and others. So while this crypto collapse is going on, we're watching the real value and power of the U.S. dollar begin to slip. And with all the news about Saudi Arabia ditching the U.S. dollar for the yuan to trade oil through the Shanghai exchange, I couldn't help but think of this. Shout out to Digital Asset Investor for this one, because Ripple is smack dab in the middle of it. And when it comes to the use of XRP, I'm kind of liking my odds right now. FedNow, Ripple relationship. Digital Dollar Project, Ripple. Digital Euro Association, Ripple. Digital Pound Foundation in UK, Ripple. United Nations, Ripple. IMF, Ripple. World Economic Forum, Ripple. As the GOAT says, sorry for all the hype, but that's the facts, Jack. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. But if they get this digital dollar right, it will be just as in demand as anything in the world, currently the paper US dollar as well. Now, with that being said, it looks a lot to me like this right now, what I see, that Ripple will somehow be helping to facilitate the launch of that new digital dollar when it comes, and the digital euro, and possibly the digital pound. That's going to do it for me. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. I'm liking my odds, ladies and gentlemen. Bring it on. I'm ready to see this thing through. I'll catch all of you on the next one.